So when you're talking about the cows, it's a really good opportunity to talk about cow school. So when you are using cows to pull your plow, when you're using them to pull your carts, you can't say, hi, Mr. Cow, can you please pull this cart for me? They don't speak English, right? It would be really easy if they did, but they don't. Cows communicate with their body weight and their horns too. And I don't think we have, horns as big as theirs. We could try. I don't think that we are as heavy as they are. So we need to communicate with them in kind of a way that they understand, but in a way, that they need to be able to understand us too. So that's when you use something called a goad. So a goad is a stick like this. If you are an interpreter, odds are you're not doing a lot of really close work with cows, but if there's another staff member who's more involved with our animals, they are most likely doing this with the cows. So you can just do this with school kids. So we have our goad, and we are going to teach our cows how to do cow school. So you can say, all right, raise your hand if you would like to volunteer to be a cow for cow school demonstration. And they'll be like, or they'll be really shy. If they're really shy, that's okay. If they don't feel like doing it, you can put it away and continue on to whatever next point you were going to make. Odds are you're going to get somebody who's interested though. So let's pretend we have our two awesome kids who are now cows, and I'm like, okay, cows, so line up shoulder to shoulder, just along like this. All right, perfect. So when I have my oxen and they are ready to pull a cart, I use my goad to communicate with them. The goad is my gigantic horn. It's my way of saying, I'm in charge, you're not. So when they see the goad, they're like, okay, it's training time. So I will approach my cows, and I will always approach them from the same side. So I'll hold the goat up like this so that they can see it, and I'll say, cows, step up. And that means to just walk forward. So I'll be like, step up, kids. And then I'll do, whoa, which is a pretty easy one. That means to stop. So step up is walking forward. Whoa is to stop. So I'll have them step up again. So step up, cows. Whoa. Good job. Now, you're going to turn your body so that you're facing this way. And but the cows are going to stay where they are. And you're going to say, cows, back up. And then they back up. And then whoa. And then that makes them stop. So the kids may decide that they want to do all kinds of weird little movements. Just let them do it. It's fine. If they don't get it like right away, not a big deal. So you've just backed up with them. Now you need to turn your cows left and right. So we're going to go right, and we're going to say G. So you guys are going to turn right and then step up. Whoa. So they did a good job with that. So now let's see how they do for the next part. So now we're going to turn left. And left is ya. So what you do is you kind of put your goad over the first child's head, a little bit like this, and you're going to say ya, just like that. And you can kind of go over their heads if you want to. Ya. See, they're doing it. And now, whoa. Good job. So that's pretty much it. That is cow school. And then you can have them give themselves a round of applause afterwards because they were good little cows or oxen, whoever they are. So goads are usually right over here, or they're in the barn near the utility stall. You can feel free to ask them to take a second while you grab one, and then you could try out cow school. Over to them. So our goats are also an animal you can talk about if you have time. So the brown one right there is Abigail, or Abby as we call her, and then Sophie is the one right behind her. So both of them are Spanish goats. They are also a heritage breed, and they are really good for a couple reasons. The first is that they give you awesome goat milk, and you can make cheese out of that, and you can ask the kids if they've ever had goat cheese before. And then the second thing they do is they give you fiber too that you can spin. So that's that. And then you can use them for meat. You can ask kids if they have ever tried goat meat before. Odds are they'll be like, ooh. And this is where you can tell them a little bit about 18th century cooking and food ways, and that people around the world today eat goat too. So you can talk about that as well. But the guy, so you can ask the kids if they can guess what it is. So this is something called a cold frame. That's what it's called during the really early spring months in like March going into April. And then it can also be used as a hot frame in the warmer months. So what this is it's basically a greenhouse where it's really super basic. You're putting your cold frame on top of a bed of composting manure and hay, and that's providing heat for the inside of your cold frame. So in March, you can plant things in here that you want to be able to transplant into your garden later on when things get a little warmer. So this is something good to have when the temperatures are still pretty low, but not like below 40, I would say. So you can lift off one of these window panels. They're really super simple. They're made with items from around the site, and you can show them what might be growing inside. Depending on the time of year, there may not be anything growing in here, but this year we definitely have some stuff. We have cabbage right here, and then I'll move this little guy over, and then we have onion right there. So so this stuff is ready to be transplanted, but we may keep some of it in just for interpretive purposes. What we'll show here is what a good way to control your crowd of kids. So they're all coming over, and they're all coming really close to you and the gate. So what you want to do is, and you guys can help demonstrate, is, all right guys, I need to see a single file line right over here, one in front of the other, and chaperones and teachers will probably immediately jump in and help you do that. So what I like to do is make it clear to the kids that we want them to be very cognizant of where they step inside of our garden. There's lots of stuff growing in there. There's lots of beds that might be weird shapes, and we want to make sure they're respecting our plants just as much as they respect our our garden. So are respecting our plants as much as they're respecting our animals. So what I like to do is I like to say, all right kids, I want you to put one hand up and put it over your heart, and then raise your other hand, and then I have them repeat after me, and I'll say, I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will not step on any of the beds or on the cute little plants because they're growing and we love them.
Because they're growing and we love them.
Right. So that makes the kids have fun while being aware of the fact that we want them to, respect our garden. So then you can have them walk in and make sure that when you're inviting the group into the garden that the last person in shuts this gate, because we don't want any chickens or sheep getting in and having an all-you-can-eat buffet. So you can just say, hey, whoever's the last in, can you mind, we're here somewhere. Obviously not on a bed. Right now it's a little, for this video, it's a little bit difficult to tell what's a bed and what isn't. So, for whenever you're watching this, just visualize it as you see it. So in the garden, we like to talk about where your food comes from. So a lot of kids, we ask them, do you have a garden like this at home? Maybe not this big, maybe it's a little bit smaller. What do you have growing at home? And then, some will raise their hands. Yes, they do have a garden, others don't. So, they're usually growing flowers, but you can ask them, what are you growing in your garden? And then you start making the connection about the fact that 18th century farmers were relying on what they were growing, what their neighbors were growing, not just for food, but also to pay your rent. So you're going to be growing a lot of onions in here for paying your rent or for trading downtown. Onions are a really important historical crop in Bristol because they're used to feed slaves while they're traveling during the triangle trade. So you can mention that for sure, depending on the age group. If you've got really young kids, talk to them about, but I can't have strawberries whenever I want in the 18th century. I have to wait a little while. And here's kind of the story that I like to tell them. So I say, everyone close your eyes and imagine that it's December. You're seeing the snow falling down outside. You hear Christmas music playing in the background, and suddenly you really, really want to eat strawberry shortcake. So you go over into the kitchen and you say, Mom, I really want some strawberries. I want strawberry shortcake and I want it right now. Then you ask, where is your mom gonna go get strawberries? Some kids will, they'll say the supermarket or farmer's market. And I'd be like, well, in my time, in the 18th century, you would have had to preserve your strawberries from last June in the form of strawberry preserves in order to be able to eat them in any way in our time. So that's a good example of food preservation and how gardening is not just about growing what you need to eat, but it's about planning ahead. You're going to be doing a spring planting that you're going to be harvesting most of in like late summer, and then you might do another planting of quick growing root vegetables like carrots and beets and turnips, that kind of thing, so that you can save all of that in your house over the winter time. We'll talk about food preservation in the house a little bit more, but finally, once you've talked about the cold frame, you've talked a little bit about where your food comes from, now you can do a couple different things. The first thing you can do is ask the kids if they're brave, and most of them are, because they need to be brave because they're going to taste something in the garden. Now, there are two places where you can bring kids to taste something, so you can follow me to the this is the first guy. This is rhubarb. So you can tell them that, has anyone ever had strawberry rhubarb pie? Some of them actually haven't. Some of them have never tried rhubarb, fresh out of a garden before. So it's a pretty cool experience. So what you'll do is you'll carry maybe a pocket knife on you, or there will be one made available for you. And you'll come over here and you'll harvest one. And when you harvest the rhubarb, make sure that you're cutting pretty low down there. So let's say you cut one out. You're holding the stalk and the leaf. You cut off the leaf and you can put it right down on the ground, and you can say, we don't eat the leaves because they are poisonous. So the part that you're going to eat is the stem. So then have them, line up along here between this bed and that bed, always making sure that no one's stepping on anything in particular. Chaperones are helpful with this. So you can have them, step along here. Raise your hand if you want to try some rhubarb. So you'll cut off little pieces. You don't need really big pieces. Little pieces will suffice. And you'll start handing them out. There are going to be some kids that love it and ask for more. There are going to be some kids that hate it and they want to spit it out. You can feel free to have them, put whatever they don't want or they don't like on the ground. It's just going to compost back into the soil anyway. It's really super sour, so we invite you to try our rhubarb before you have students try, just so you know what they're in for. It's really sour, but it's a lot of fun for them to get to taste something. So that should take up a lot of time. There's another thing that they can taste also. Available, have them try some mint too. You can feel free to pick it off just like that, and you can have them smell it or taste it. Ask, of course, if anyone is allergic to anything before you have anyone tasting stuff. You want to make sure that you're not going to have any allergic reactions. So you can have them taste it or smell it, whatever they want, and you can have them guess what it is. A lot of the herbs in here, if you are not comfortable identifying it, don't have a child try it, because some of these herbs are medicinals that you can also talk about, that are used for, certain things, but it'll be important for you to not have them taste any of those if you can identify them. So the ones that you see in this video are good to go. So that's pretty, and they can, they can do some weeding, and you can show them how. So the way that I show kids how is what I'll do with this guy. So these weeds with like the white flowers on them are pretty easy to pick. The clover is pretty easy too. Avoid grass if you can help it, because it's a little bit tough for them. But you're going to want to have the kids take it from as close to the ground as you can, get a good grip on it, and slowly pull it up so that you're pulling out as much of the roots as possible, and then tell them to shake off the dirt and throw it on the path. That's all they have to do. And then you can have kids go into town. I would say don't have them do any weeding in the beds. Only have them do, like I did it kind of on the edge of one, but have them do it kind of in the pathway if you can help it. If they're pulling at grass, it's fine. But if they are able, if they're a little older and they're able to really do some good weeding, it's a good use of your last like 5 minutes. So keep in mind you do have 10 minutes in here, so make every second count.